Welcome to another AUG blog audio post located at augforums.com. That's augforums.com. You can find the specific audio post at augforums.com/audio post 16. That's audio post and the number 16. This is your host, Tim Rodman, coming to you live on Saturday, May 23rd, 2020 from Columbus, Ohio. And in this audio post, we've got a conversation about success services for Acumatica with Julian Schrenzel. And Julian, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Tim. So I'm Julian Schrenzel, President and CEO of Dynexus Recruiting, or Dynexus Group. And as of this year, 3 years running the Acumatica Recruitment Assistance Program, known as the ARAP, which, as Tim just mentioned, is getting a facelift and a rebrand to Success Services for Acumatica. We call SSA for short.
And I like how you got Acumatica built into the name. This is a very focused and targeted effort, it sounds like, in your part, specifically for Acumatica.
Sure. There was a lot of thought that went into what we're calling things these days.
But even though you got this Acumatica target, maybe give us a little bit of history, go back as far as you like. I think you didn't just come out of the blue 3 years ago. Go ahead and give us some history on how you all got started.
Sure. So it was in 1997 that my father started a company called Schrenzel Technical Staffing. And before that, he had a full 3-4 careers, first starting in software development and then becoming a leader in the information, like CIO in information side of things. And then went into recruiting just on a whim from a friend who decided, it's time to make a change and I'm going to try this. And so he went into recruiting and joined a larger agency. And, he liked it and saw the promise, but he really struggled too, because the way that recruiting was and still is done a lot of times is kind of a boiler room mentality where people just have to rush through and throw resumes as quick as they can so no other company can find the person before they do. And it was just kind of soul-sucking in a way. So he decided, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out there and be a retained search agency. And at the time, back then, when he lit out on his own in the late 90s, the only retainer kind of agencies were ones that did the executive placement. But he wanted to bring it to, ERP and CRM consultants and, administrative support and everywhere. So all the people that he worked with said, "You're nuts. That's never going to work." Administrative support and everywhere. So all the people that he worked with said, "You're nuts. That's never going to work. People are not going to pay for your services." And he decided, I think they will. So he went out and started Schrenzel Technical Staffing. And then one of his earliest clients was the Nextech Group, which is an Acumatica VAR based around the country. And in about period of 5-6 years, in the early 2000s, they hired him to fill 60 roles. So it really became the bread and butter. The staple of this company started to be ERP and CRM, and that was Dynamics at that time. And that was just kind of where everything started landing, which is what finalized his niche. So then I was coming back from New York. I had a career as an actor and was doing shows and traveling around the country. And as he had, do you want to try to do some of this? Because I would have times where in the daytime we weren't rehearsing anymore. We were in performances, which were night times. And I would have a lot of time during the day free. So I decided, So I would do candidate interviews and I would do reference checks and I'd do candidate sourcing for, roles that were opening up for him. And so I kind of learned bit by bit the parts of recruiting while I was on the road and performing at night. And I got, pretty well versed at what I was doing. And then I met my wife in a show, and then we moved back eventually to Seattle to become married. And neither of us wanted to live out of a suitcase for the rest of our lives. So we kind of based in Seattle. And then I joined my father's practice on a full-time basis. This was pretty far back in 2007, actually. And I worked with him and learned the trade, and he taught me everything that I know. And I kind of worked with him. Well, I totally worked with him from then until until he retired recently, and I took ownership of the company at the beginning of this year. It's been quite a ride, a lot of learning and a lot of excitement and a lot of struggle too. You know, recruiting is a very up and down thing. So that's kind of the history of what we did. But in 2018, we were approached by Acumatica, by Jeff Ashley and his team, about starting a practice, a recruiting practice dedicated specifically for Acumatica partners to help them with the struggle of finding the right talent at the right time. They needed a company that could come in there, do really high quality work, higher than most recruiters, charge a fee that was reasonable, and also agree not to poach active Acumatica employees from other partners. And so we have been able to really do that. We started the ARAP back in 2018, and to date, we've placed over We started the ARAP back in 2018, and to date, we've placed over 60 people with over 50 Acumatica partners, and have more than just recruiting now. We're expanding the ARAP in its change to success services. We're not just doing recruiting anymore. We're not just going out to the partners and saying, we are the people you go to when you need to hire someone for your practice. We're the ones who ensure that they have the kind of workforce support services they need to become the best they can be and thrive going forward. So we're not just recruiting, we're also staffing. We are currently in the process of developing a soft skills training series for partners and their customers that's going to run in July. And we just have more and more going to offer a more broad support services suite of services for those partners. So it's been a really interesting, fun ride, and I love it.
For those, especially those recent developments, I didn't realize you had an acting background, and that's probably actually pretty good training for recruiting, I would think. It's all about reading people, so that's pretty cool.
Totally. Some of the best hires I've ever made in my company have been actors, because I have a lot of actor friends, and they were some of the greatest contributors to this company for that reason.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and I also actually got a job through your father about 9 years ago up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I remember working with him through that process and being impressed with how specific his knowledge was in this mid-market ERP area. And, it just makes a lot of sense to me that then eventually a couple of years ago, you did something with Acumatica directly. You definitely have the technical knowledge in this area, and then I think it's interesting you bring in a lot of the soft element knowledge in this area, and then I think it's interesting you bring in a lot of the soft elements too, which in my opinion are more important. I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on when you're getting someone ready, how much of it is technical versus soft skills, and what do you look for?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It might surprise a lot of people to hear what that is.
Maybe that's your secret sauce. Contact you to know what that is.
Yeah, right. No, I'm happy to share. And those soft skills are a massively underfunded investment in especially the Western business culture, but needed more than ever. And then even in these last couple of months with our craziness of our economy and everything, needed even that much more. It's amazing how much. And it really is what defines, in my opinion, this is what defines Dynexus recruiting and sets us up. I was mentioning how the recruiting process, when you're not in a model that is guaranteed and retained, and you're not guaranteeing the placement, but you're just doing it opportunistically, like most recruiters, that's a standard model. That model fosters quantity over quality. Whereas when you have a relationship with a company and you are guaranteeing that placement and you're working on it, and you're not competing against that company that's hiring you to do that, it really changes the game and makes it about the relationship and about doing what needs to be done to get it done and get it done right, that client thrives. That's not a kind of mindset that most recruiters are in. They're more in, how quickly can we get these resumes out? Let's get these over to them before they hire someone else. And I think that really is the special sauce, and that is all about the soft skills. It's about caring about your customer. It's about caring about the industry that you're serving and making, it sounds cliche, but, you know, making a mark on the world. Like, I want this company and this practice to finish up, whenever we do finish up, leaving a better situation than we came into. And that's what we're doing, I think.
Well, it sounds like you've got proven success there. It's only been a couple of years, and you said over 60 that you've placed already with partners?
64, and hopefully in the next week and a half, it'll be about 66. So with over 50 partners in Acumatica. Thank you.
And then with that rule that you have with Acumatica that you can't just move people around like a merry-go-round within various VARs, like a shell game. You have to bring them in from outside, so to speak. I would imagine looking for those soft skills is even more important. It's funny to me that even when customers are looking for new people, how much they look for specific skills on their specific ERP system. And it's always funny to me because they limit their candidates so much by doing that, when it seems to me, and tell me if you agree with this, but it seems to me like it's better to find someone with the good soft skills. It's easier to teach the hard skills rather than trying to do the other way around. Do you find that to be the case?
Absolutely. I think that when you're hiring, here's my opinion, and it kind of goes into philosophy. When a hirer is hiring, it's a big risk. Like, to hire the wrong person, there's a top grading is a company that a lot of companies work with, that provides a structure around your hiring process and your onboarding process and your workforce process of keeping them successful. They have a study out that shows that an average person, like let's say you got a person earning a base salary of $100,000. So this is going to be, you know, a consultant or a developer or something like that. If you're a bad hire, the cost of a bad hire comes to a total of about 5 times the base salary of someone at that level. And when you think that's a lot of money, but the cost of a hire, it ripples out. So it's not just the loss of the money you paid to them for a base salary for as long as you had them, but it also is in the lost revenue, the lost relationships that person, if they were caustic to your prospects or your customers, that lost business and lost future business. If they were caustic to your team, it was the loss in productivity of all those team members, and maybe some of those team members left because they didn't like the environment anymore. That ramification ripples out to be a huge cost. So a $100,000 person can easily cost $500,000 to a company for a bad hire. And when that hire is something like a senior manager, the costs go up to approximately 32 times the base salary. So when you've got a 200, maybe the base salary somewhere from the 150 to 200 or more. And these are more executive people, maybe not so much in our industry, but they exist. Those salaries, when they're dealing with managing large teams and handling large pieces of business, you look at 32 times that base salary, that's a huge, huge monetary risk that people are undertaking when they're making their decisions on who's the right person to hire. And when you're dealing with that kind of risk, hand in hand with that comes a fear. And when you're trying to execute in fear, your brain physically is different. The chemical makeup of your brain, when you're trying to execute in fear, your brain physically is different. The chemical makeup of your brain is different, and that affects the way that you operate, the way that you make decisions. And so as a result of that, sometimes what you see when people are hiring is they make decisions that they wouldn't have otherwise made if they would have just been casually thinking about it. Just like you said, when you make your decision based on, do they have this technology? Do they have that technology? How many years of technology you have there? What school did they graduate from? These kind of things are so, compared to other things, they're so insignificant compared to, is this person going to be a value add from a human standpoint to my organization, or are they going to tear things down here? That kind of loss and gain is absolutely a mountain compared to the time and effort you might take having someone learn So you're totally right. It's totally true.
That stuff is fascinating. And for any Acumatica customers out there listening to this, I think that's just awesome advice. So you're doing recruiting for partners, and then you mentioned you got a couple other things that are coming up. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about those things.
Yeah, sure. So I'll tell you a little about why are we making this change from ARAP. ARAP was a fine name, and it was a fine name, but it's not fully inclusive of what's happening right now with what we're offering. So when we began the ARAP, Acumatica Recruitment Assistance Program, that was the whole beginning and the end of it, is that we needed to help Acumatica partners with assisting them with recruiting the right kind of people. And that's what a recruiter does, for sure. But since that time, it's been really interesting for me as a business person through the development of our partnership with Acumatica. We are, for instance, an Acumatica partner. Just like every other VAR and ISV out there, we are a partner with Acumatica, but we are a recruiting agency and a staffing agency. We don't sell ERP. We don't sell add-ons to ERP. We don't develop our own IT in that way, same way like an ISV does. So we are this enigma. And to my knowledge, there is no other recruiting firm in the world out there who is a partner with a technology publisher that doesn't actually deal in the technology like a VAR or an ISV would. So we have this unique place that no other recruiting company can enjoy. And what that gives us is really that no other recruiting company can enjoy. And what that gives us is really where the sauce, the special sauce of this comes in. First of all, we have the ability, like every other partner, to enroll people in the partner portal to certify on Acumatica products. So if a developer comes to me, or an implementer comes to me, or a marketing professional comes to me, or someone who wants to join a practice as a leader comes to me, a project manager, any one of those people, and they're really bright and I'm super impressed with them, but they don't have the Acumatica experience yet, but they know about Acumatica and they want to join the future of ERP and be in a cloud-based technology and join this ecosphere, I have the ability, unlike any other recruiting company in the entire world, to say, hey, come study. We're going to put you on a certification course where you can self-study. You're going to do this, and we are going to promote you onto their workforce. And so people get in there and they start to study, and then we promote them, much like a talent agent promotes its talent. We get out there and we share the success stories and we share the people's experience and profiles on our website, and then partners get to go out there and choose what they want. There is no other recruiting company in the world that has access to be able to give exclusive access to candidates to study a technology and to certify on a technology that a bunch of companies are selling or working with and could find value in hiring those people. So what I just described to you, of course, is one of the offerings of the SSA recruiting services, which is called Certification to Hire. And through recruiting services, we're now offering 3 different things, but the Certification to Hire is the one that really illustrates so easily this value that we can give and that no other company, I have no competition in that way from other recruiters.
So let's dig into Certification to Hire a little more. Let's say I'm just got laid off because of COVID-19, so I'm sitting around with nothing to do. And I noticed that there's a site called Acumatica Openuniversity.com. And you might not know the answer to this, but one thing I've always wondered, anyone can go on there. You create an account. You just have to sign in with a social media account, and you can take Acumatica courses. But I don't believe you can actually get certified through there. I think what you're talking about is the actual portal, which is private and separate, and can only be accessed if you're a member of a VAR, a customer, or a member of the program that you're talking about. Is that correct?
That is right. Anybody in the world can go and study the material and learn about Acumatica and do all of that. But Anybody in the world can go and study the material and learn about Acumatica and do all of that. But if you want to actually like download the instance and start working in a sandbox, and if you want to take the test and get certification that you can actually have official certification in the product, then there's no other way to do that other than going through the portal. And the only way to go through the portal is to be sponsored by a partner. And partners they're not in the business of sponsoring potential employees. They need to spend their time and effort sponsoring the people who will actually make a difference to them, which are people who are on their team. So for the most part, the people who have that access are already in the channel. But my business, it's very interesting. My business interest is the potentials, those who are not there yet, but really, really, really want to be. And rather than a VAR having to spend all their time, enroll values people get when they hire a certification to hire employee, is that they are getting someone, not only do they get someone who has proven their interest by the grit and effort and time and everything that it took to get in there and do their studies before they ever had a promise of any job at all. They just did it because they invested that time and effort, means they got fire in their belly. So right there, they have a proven fire in the belly candidate. And the next thing is, this candidate now actually is certified, so they have some knowledge and experience, education in the product. Granted, it's not boots on the ground experience, professional experience, which they can only get by actually doing the work as an employee, but they have a familiarity. And it's going to be that much less time and effort by the company that's hiring them in having them sit and study and learn the product. It's going to be that much quicker and easier for them to put them out in a role that's going to be valuable to the company rather than a liability to the company until they learn the product. So then they've got this person who's learned the product. So then they've got this person who's ready-made in that way. And then it comes through a program with a company that's been recruiting in the ERP space for 20 plus years. We know great people, and we know how to spot great people. And we don't just accept anybody into certification to hire. People have to have experience, aptitude, interest, a fire in their belly before we take them in. And so they already know they're getting pre-vetted in a way. So the value of it, and of course the fee is lower than most any other recruiting fee out there. You're saving 15, 20% over an average recruitment effort when you're hiring the people. So you're paying less and you're getting a heck of a lot more, which to me, it's like the biggest no-brainer in the world to hire one of these people.
I really like how you flip the script on that, because I think that's traditionally what happens. You're a VAR, you hire someone who you think is good, and then there's someone who you think is good, and then they sit and study for 2 months, and then you find out whether they could even finish exams or not. You're flipping the script, getting that done ahead of time. And I also like it from the candidate standpoint, because again, I'm maybe sitting around, nothing to do, I'm out of work, and rather than go on to Acumatica Openuniversity, makes a lot more sense to get into certification to hire. Then you're getting credit for the exams that you take, and the certificates now are attached to your name. And from that standpoint, I assume, like, as a candidate, is there a fee to actually get into that program, or is that part free?
Never. For a candidate, never pays any money for anything that we do. My clients are the partners, and those are the people that are, the only fee incurred, which is good, because people who are out of a job, there's not a whole lot of spending cash to have them. And then one of the other values that I didn't neglected to mention is when you hire someone who already is certified, that certification transfers from Dynexus over to the new employer. So immediately, Acumatica partners need to have a number of people who are on staff who have certifications. And so when you hire someone pre-certified, you're getting that value immediately for what you need to be a partner with Acumatica. And that's just another value add to the partner.
That's a great point. So those certifications are attached to the individual, not to you or to the certification to hire program. So they come with the individual.
They do. They are a Dynexus, they're under the Dynexus banner, but they get transferred. The minute someone gets hired, we put in a request, and that cert gets completely transferred to the new company. Access banner, but they get transferred. The minute someone gets hired, we put in a request, and that cert gets completely transferred to the new company.
That's awesome. So if I'm sitting around with nothing to do and I want to get into ERP, I know another option. Another option is you could pay thousands of dollars to get some kind of SAP certification and hope you get a job, or you could not spend any money at all, just invest your time and build skills on a ERP product that's got a cloud future. And I think I know which one I would choose if I was sitting around with nothing to do.
And you get the services of Dynexus to promote you, to help you to land that job. So you get your dedicated talent agent with the deal.
Love it. So I invest in my skills, the part I have control over, and then you do the work of promoting me and finding me the job. I like that. That's awesome.
Exactly. Who are learning about this program, who I've never talked to or heard of before, but who are learning about what we're doing and who we are, which is just increasing our exposure and our brand within this area, which makes me that much more effective as a talent agent in the Acumatica ecosphere to help people land jobs. I'll give you an example of a candidate that I have right now, my most recent candidate. I was brought to the attention of a candidate. This is a candidate who recently left a Acumatica partner. There was a workforce reduction, and they are leaving their partner. They got in touch through our program. I promoted them out to the channel today, as in like yesterday. Today's Saturday, Friday. As of Friday, they are currently in interviewing cycle with 7 Acumatica partners, and they have 3 offers in the third Friday, and we're expecting actually 2 more. I'm expecting that are going to be making offers during the week next week. So 7 companies interested, 5 job offers by the time next week is out, and that candidate is going to be able to make a decision. They're going to make a decision based on what fits them best.
That's awesome. Having options, especially at a time like this, that's precious. That's great.
Yeah, sure.
So I think on the certification to hire, we've talked a little bit about this. We don't have an official agreement or anything. I don't think we need one, but I believe you've been encouraging people who are in the certification to hire program to create an account on augforums.com, which of course anyone can do, and just contribute to questions, or it just gives you real world scenarios to practice on augforums.com, which of course anyone can do, and just contribute to questions, or it just gives you real world scenarios to practice with as you're going through the forums and either trying to answer other people's questions or asking your own question. And, I think what I'd like to do, if you're okay with it, is I don't see any reason why we couldn't maybe we create it as a private forum so that it's more like an exclusive club and it's only available to people who are in your program, but it'd give them a way to interact with one another. That part would be private. Then anything, of course, that they post in the existing regular forums that are more product specific, that content would continue to be public. But it'd give them like a little water cooler way, and maybe a little way to have a little community, and maybe a way for you to interact with the whole group at once. And what do you think about that idea?
I think it's great. I've always thought that the AUG forums failure yet with who are the partners, who are the people that are in this industry who need to be keyed into that community. There are other ways you could get on LinkedIn and find certain communities, but the thing I like about AUG forums is that it really is very active. Like, I'm a part of it, and I see posts going up a lot. I see a lot of engagement, more so than I would in a LinkedIn kind of thing. So I'm really excited about this. Is going to be kind of a gateway to entering the community for these people who are fresh into Acumatica. And yeah, I'm 100% behind that, Tim.
Well, let's do it. We'll work out the details of how you'd approve people to be in that particular private forum. Of course, anyone can create an account and be in the public part of it right away, but then we'll work out something where you can just, be able to go in and add someone to the private forum. We'll work out the pieces on that. Sounds good.
Totally. Yeah. Excellent.
Then I think forum. We'll work out the pieces on that. Sounds good.
Totally. Yeah. Excellent.
Then I think you had a third thing. So we talked about the history, the traditional recruiting side, the certification to hire. Do you have anything more to talk about on certification to hire?
Sure. So the last service. So there's 3 services, like you said. Recruiting is the first one, and that's essentially low-cost, high-quality, guaranteed placement recruiting for Acumatica partners, and that's SSA Recruiting Services recruiting products, and then SSA Recruiting Services certification to hire is what we just talked about. The third one is called SSA Recruiting Services Gig Time, GIG, Gig Time. And gig time is in large part something that has increased in interest, particularly over these last few months, because a lot of partners are in a situation where hiring was, nobody wanted to move. But yet there were projects. A lot of the VARs out there are doing fine. A lot of the Acumatica partners, and I talk to multiples every day, I find that the majority of the people, the companies that I'm talking to, have had some impact on their companies, but not enough, not as much as they thought it would be. And they have customers that are still moving along, and so their practice is been affected, but not like they thought. And so they still have projects that need to get done. Some of those partners have had to let go of key employees. And when you have to let go of certain employees, you lose that expertise. And perhaps there's a project that's online that a partner needs to execute on for a customer, and there's a timeline, and in times, they don't have that expertise, or that expertise is otherwise utilized, and they need running on something, already knowing Acumatica, knowing the industry, knowing the technologies worked with, understanding the business of the project and of the customer, and they need to have them hit the ground and know exactly what to do, how to do it, and get it done right. And so what was born out of that was providing Acumatica experienced professionals who are ready and willing to work on an as-needed, on-demand basis, on an hourly rate usually. And to that end, so what I started to do is very quickly put together a real strong team of people that I knew out in the Acumatica space who are willing and able to do that, to provide contracting services of their expertise. And to date, we have 30 individual contractors who have expertise from everything from manufacturing, construction, financial services, distribution, manufacturing, supply chain, every industry, every area that you could possibly need. We've got some people who can jump into something and really quickly add value. And we try to offer them at a reasonable rate that it's feasible for the partners to do. So that's gig time, and anybody can get in touch and check on that as needed.
So I'm curious about some details on it, and you might not have worked them out. But before I go there, I want to comment that I've been hearing the same thing. Things have not slowed down as much as partners thought they would, and I think it's very interesting. In many cases, I think it's the opposite, because as businesses have slowed down, they've had more time to focus on their ERP implementations. And then I think another piece of it is this whole cloud thing has become really real all of a sudden. And people realize how important it is to be able to have a system that you don't have to go to a clunky VPN, right? So I think it'll be real interesting to see if it does get slow, maybe by the winter. But right now, I've been hearing the same thing. It's still humming along. And even if it does get slow, it sure seems like there's going to be a big uptick on the other end of this, because companies are going to want to get off those legacy systems faster, I think.
Yeah, I would think. I think people are already seeing that, yeah. Yep.
But on the gig time, I'm curious. So if you're really just talking about, it almost sounds like an Uber for Acumatica services a little bit here. Mechanically, I wonder, how does that work? So those 30 people you have, are they employees of yours that you pay as W-2s, or are you merely connecting people together and they do 1099 work? Or how are you thinking that would work?
It has put me in a place where I have relationships with so many people in this ecosphere that I am pretty regularly fielding projects. And so when I approach someone that I think would be right to provide as a gig time worker, what I'm able to say is I can supply pretty regular projects to you, and I am then supplying those. And what I'm doing is I'm connecting the two. So the person that wants to do the work is a 1099 directly with the partner. And so it's really more of a connection. I'm not putting them on my payroll.
Still, that's really cool. And I like how, since you're not a VAR in the sense that you're selling software, it removes that scary element of when VARs work with each other. There's always the fear of, well, now they might take a VAR in the sense that you're selling software. It removes that scary element of when VARs work with each other. There's always the fear of, well, now they might take the margin from me on the sale. Right. You're not in that position. So you're in to me, a much more trusted position to be able to offer services only without the fear of you stealing the client. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very important to me. It's always been and always will be that I respect this community and that nobody is harmed by the work that we do. Traditionally in recruiting, what a recruiter might do in a channel like this is come in and take one person from one company and give it to another person, and then go to that first company and say, hey, are you guys looking to hire anybody? And the company says, yeah, we lost someone recently. And then that recruiter will then go find someone from another partner in Acumatica and place them with them. And they start to do the rob Peter to pay Paul, where, a company, one of their employees is going from one to the other. And it can really wreak havoc and kind of rot a partner channel from within and really erode at the trust that must exist healthily in a partner channel if everybody's supposed to benefit. And that's the one thing that Acumatica Partner Channel is built on, is how can we as a community help each other to thrive, and how can we work with Acumatica themselves that we all can be the rising tide raises all boats. And you've got to have a rising tide to raise all boats. And if everybody doesn't trust everybody else, because everybody's stealing each other's people by help of a recruiter who has no allegiance to Acumatica or any of those partners, then what do you got? You just have a company that's really breaking down an entire partner channel. And so that was like the big reason I think that Acumatica's interest in bringing a company like mine on board. I'm extremely interested in the strength of every member of this ecosphere. And I want that my service is to strengthen and unify rather than to tear people down, tear companies apart, and cause animosity.
I like that. Yeah, and I think if you are one of those bad players in the Acumatica ecosystem, it's not that huge. Word gets around pretty fast, right? So I think just the fact that you've already placed 60 people with 50 partners, I think that speaks volumes that you're in and you've got skin in the game. And yeah, I like that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So
my background.
What's that?
I said, you'll have to forgive my background. All of a sudden, my neighbor decided to mow their lawn right next to my window. That's the beauty of working from home.
No problem.
Give my background. All of a sudden, my neighbor decided to mow their lawn right next to my window. That's the beauty of working from home.
No problem. I'm sandwiched between couch cushions with the sound machine going, so you don't hear screaming kids in the background.
Awesome. It is Saturday after all.
That's the nature, though, of an AUG blog audio post. We like to keep it real, keep it raw, and for better or for worse, that's what you get.
Exactly.
Well, hey, thanks for the overview of those three things. Very interesting stuff you got going on. Any other closing thoughts that you have?
Just that I had mentioned a little bit about the soft skills training. And, one of the things I had said about the Acumatica Recruitment Assistance Program becoming Success Services for Acumatica, very briefly, I'll tell you that we've talked about one of the 4 pillars of the Success Services for Acumatica today. It's a task setting. But the other thing that is becoming available very soon is called SSA Complete Professional, or SSA CP. And what that is a lot of people may be familiar with David Marcotte. He's the guy who is hired, has been for the past 5 or 6 years. He's hired by Acumatica to kind of stage manage all of the large events and to be the person that, he's the one that coaches people on their presentation skills and helps them, coaching them before they actually get out there and do their thing on stage. He has a background, of course, a lot in everything from presentation to a whole suite of soft skills. He and I met a couple of summits ago, and since that time, we've partnered up to create Complete Professional, which takes this program from just helping people hire people to making great teams, within these partners, making their salespeople better at sales, their deliverers better delivering good customer service, their managers better at dealing with challenges and things of a workforce. And what we are doing in July, and we don't have the exact date yet, but this July 2020, we will be launching a 3-webinar series on soft skills for sales for Acumatica partners. And it's going to be available in 3 segments. It'll be 3 series webinars that's going to go through the bringing a soft skills component into making sales happen better in the Acumatica partner channel. And we're in the midst of working on that, and that will be coming soon. Yeah, and I don't have much detail other than that information's coming out in the next couple of weeks. Acumatica partners are going to see how to register for that, and what that's going to be like and when it's going to be. But I can tell you it's going to be in July. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th week of July, we'll have a series of these webinars available.
I think maybe we should get on another one of these in the fall so I can check in on how that's going. How's that sound?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to.
And it sounds like, all the things that you mentioned, they're under what you're calling SSA, Success Services for Acumatica. And by putting Acumatica in the name, I think it's very interesting that you're really just focused on the Acumatica ecosystem. You're not trying to take this across multiple mid-market ERP products. Is that right?
That's right. I think that the real special sauce about being successful, I think you will hear this as a partner too, but you need to specialize. You need to have a niche. And I think if you're everything to everybody, you can really water down. So right now, serving the Acumatica partner community is where we've been for years and where we have work to be done. We have a lot of work to do. And I have no qualms about providing this strictly. We are for Acumatica exclusively in this program.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think we both share an enthusiasm about where we think not only Acumatica is, but where it's headed. So I like that.
Yeah.
All in.
Totally.
Well, Julian, thanks for the time today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Tim. Thanks for taking the time. It was fun.
All right. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next AUG blog audio post. Take care.